Hi everyone. Before watching the video, please give me a like and subscribe. Thank you very much. I reached a peaceful separation with the princess of the Northside elite, Luna. She finally reunited with her long-lost first love after years of turbulence, while I, the stand-in, simply accepted a $4 million breakup fee with tearful eyes and quietly exited her life. One could say it was a very dignified parting. However, it wasn't long before she suddenly began chasing me down everywhere, even declaring to the public that she was going to deal with me. Heaven is my witness, I didn't do anything wrong. Wasn't I just going on a blind date to find someone new? There's no need to overreact, right? In a high-end French restaurant, my blind date had yet to arrive. Sitting across from me was Silas, the owner of the restaurant and my best friend. He looked at me with an expression of pure shock. No way, Caleb. You're actually on a blind date? With who? The granddaughter of an old friend of my grandfather's. I shrugged, swirling the $3,500 glass of whiskey in my hand, my tone indifferent. Before the old man passed away, he made a special request. Whether we're a match or not, I have to meet her at least once. Silas nodded, hesitating for a few seconds before finally lowering his voice to ask, "And what about Luna? You loved her so much. For years of feelings. Can you really just let go that lightly? Lightly?" I tilted my head back to take a sip, a faint smirk playing on my lips. A $4 million breakup fee isn't exactly light. She still has a bit of a conscience. Silas curled his lip, letting out a dissatisfied chuckle. But a moment later, as if remembering something, his expression turned odd. He scratched the bridge of his nose and sighed. "Oh, right, Caleb. Your luggage at Luna's place. I haven't picked it up yet." I froze. "What do you mean you haven't picked it up?" After the breakup, I immediately headed to the countryside to handle my grandfather's funeral. I only just returned to the city yesterday. I had no choice but to ask Silas to help me pack my things. After all, I'd taken the money. The least I could do was move out quickly and quietly. Silas rubbed his forehead. A grown man like him looked genuinely terrified. "It was scary, man. Yesterday when I went to get your stuff, Luna wasn't at the office. She was home. She just sat on the sofa, staring at me in total silence. It gave me goosebumps. I barely finished packing, but just as I was about to walk out with the suitcases, she suddenly spoke. "Silas," she said, "you have such skillful hands. Maybe I should just chop them off." He shuddered. I nearly peed my pants right there. I sighed. That definitely sounded like something Luna would say. The Luna family of Northside basically owns this city. If their eldest daughter wants to take someone's hands, it's done in the blink of an eye. But this behavior didn't fit the woman I knew. When we broke up, it was clean, clinical, and settled. Why on earth was she holding my luggage hostage? Silas leaned in, lowering his voice. "She didn't look like someone who actually wanted to break up with you, Caleb." I shook my head. "Impossible. Everyone in our circle knows the deal between us. Years ago, her first love, Jax, rejected her to pursue some romanticized dream of being a modern-day pirate on the high seas. Not only did he turn her down, but he vanished into the great rout without a single word of farewell. Luna was devastated for a long time. I didn't know what to do back then. I just stayed by her side, a silent shadow that never left. I never expected anything in return. But on Christmas morning 4 years ago, as I handed her a glass of honey water to soothe her hangover, she looked at me and asked, "Caleb, you like me, don't you?" My face burned instantly. I shook my head in a panic, trying to explain. "I do. But don't worry, I never expected us to be together." For years past, I became Jax's replacement, pampering Luna with every ounce of my soul. Though she remained cold, she officially went public with me as her boyfriend. People in our circle called me the most successful stand-in in history. Even I believed it. I truly thought we would spend the rest of our lives together. But then, on our 4th anniversary, Jax returned. With a single sentence, "Luna, I want you to be my pirate queen." He swept her off her feet and onto his deck. Meanwhile, I was at home, carefully arranging balloons and preparing to propose. The woman I waited for never came. The only thing that arrived was a breakup settlement of $4 million. The moment her first love returned, she wanted me gone as fast as possible. How could she not want to break up? I shrugged, feigning indifference. Now, I just hope this city is big enough that I never have to see either of them again. Silas nodded in agreement. True, everyone knows what happened. If you run into them now, the awkwardness would be lethal. I narrowed my eyes slightly. My gaze drifted past Silas's shoulder toward the restaurant entrance. Luna was walking in. She froze for a split second when she saw me, then immediately began marching toward our table. I let out a helpless sigh. Silas, your mouth is a curse. I had chosen Silas's restaurant for this blind date for 3 reasons. It was close to the hot pot restaurant I owned. It was near the home of the girl I was meeting. Silas and his wife were self-made. They didn't belong to Luna's elite, high society circle. Or so I thought. So I thought the chances of running into an acquaintance here were slim. But who could have guessed? Silas gave a forced laugh, his voice losing all its usual confidence. While we were talking, Luna had reached the table. She didn't say a word. She just raised an eyebrow at Silas. His whole body shook like a chicken caught by the scruff of its neck. He quickly and quietly slipped away. How could a man that big be so terrified? Was Luna truly that fearsome? I knit my brows, poured a glass of whiskey, and smiled nonchalantly at the woman in front of me. Miss Luna, care to join me for a drink? More than 10 days had passed since the breakup. Facing her again, I was surprisingly calm. Luna didn't move. Her exquisite eyes remained locked on mine. She had such a beautiful face, yet when she stayed silent, the pressure was suffocating. This was the aura of someone born to rule. I gripped my glass tighter, but my smile didn't waver. After a half-minute standoff, she suddenly let out a soft laugh and arched an eyebrow. She took the glass, but didn't drink, her gaze probing. When did you get back? Yesterday, I replied with a faint smile. After all, I have to look after my hot pot restaurant. Unlike you, Miss Luna, with your millions, I can't afford to be idle. Luna nodded, her expression relaxing slightly. Are you here to see Silas? I paused, but before I could answer, a figure appeared at the table. It was a woman wearing a white silk shirt and a black knee-length skirt. She radiated a cold, noble elegance that made her seem almost untouchable. She looked between me and Luna. Her clear eyes flickered with a hint of hesitation, and her voice was as smooth as water. Caleb, that's me. You must be Serafina, I replied. Serafina nodded, then turned to Luna. Am I too early? Did you arrange another blind date at the same time? The moment those words left her mouth, Luna's face darkened instantly. You're here for a blind date? With whom? I gave a light laugh. Well, I won't keep you any longer, Miss Luna. Luna stared at me, her brow furrowing deeper, but she didn't get up to leave. Instead, her gaze shifted to Serafina, deep and unreadable. I lowered my voice, signaling her to depart. Miss Luna, please. It's quite rude to keep staring at my date like that. What's the rush? Luna raised an eyebrow at me, her eyes carrying a meaning I couldn't quite grasp. Suddenly, her lips curled into a smirk, and she let out a soft chuckle. After all, we did share a bed for 4 years. Why don't I help you vet this newcomer and see if she's up to standard? My hands clenched into fists. Luna, just how much more do you need to hurt me before you're satisfied? You don't need to trouble yourself. I let out a cold laugh and looked up at her, my heart numb with frost. She was chosen by my grandfather. His judgment is never wrong. Luna's eyes narrowed slightly, her gaze still fixed on me. Her deep stare seemed to be searching for something, yet she remained silent. At that moment, the ringing of a phone shattered the tension in the air. Luna frowned and pulled out her device. Immediately, her expression softened. Luna, have you reached the treasure map location yet? A deep, warm, magnetic male voice echoed through the speaker. I heard it clearly. Jax. Luna's eyes flickered across my face, her voice calm. I'm here. I ran into a friend downstairs and chatted for a bit. I'm coming up now. A friend. Chatted for a bit. I smiled faintly, but my fingernails dug so hard into my palms that the pain reached my soul. Luna hung up and stood, smoothing her lapels. You two continue. I won't disturb you any longer. I watched her back as she headed toward the stairs, an inexplicable ache throbbing in my chest. Serafina, however, sat down opposite me with perfect composure, her elegant eyes curving into a gentle smile. So, Mr. Caleb, is it my turn now? My thoughts were instantly pulled back to the present. I looked at her with surprise. Wait, you still want to continue with this? Serafina's red lips quirked up, her expression incredibly nonchalant. Why wouldn't I? First of all, I have enough judgment to understand the situation. I don't think you did anything wrong. Second, my values are quite standard. I don't care about a man's past. Finally, besides this blind date, there is something else I need you to take responsibility for. I froze, staring at her in shock. Take responsibility? For what? Why would a socialite like her demand I take responsibility? I have a dog, Serafina said suddenly, her lips pursing slightly. He likes grilled skewers. I went blank, feeling my brain was about to short-circuit. Huh? What? She took out her phone and placed it in front of me. I leaned down, confused, to take a look. As soon as I saw it, I turned to stone. It was surveillance footage from the night Luna and I broke up. In the video, a 4 million check lay on the ground. There I was, clutching a bottle of liquor, sitting on the steps in front of my hot pot restaurant, crying miserably. In the clip, I was sobbing while chewing on a cold skewer. In front of me sat a small golden retriever, licking a piece of meat. Did you get dumped too? I was heard saying to the dog in the video. You're so cute, but still a stray? Man, me too. These skewers are cold. Don't eat them anymore. See that hot pot place over there? That's mine. Come back tomorrow at this time, and I'll treat you to a feast every day. In the video, I was wasted out of my mind, incessantly rubbing the little dog's head while mumbling nonsense. In reality, watching this, I was so embarrassed I wanted to dig a hole and crawl into it. How on earth was the surveillance footage so clear? Serafina looked at me and spoke softly. The next day, my dog, Little White, actually went there. He waited all night in front of your restaurant. I started, but Mr. Caleb, you didn't show up. My heart sank. The next day was when I received news of my grandfather's critical condition. I had rushed to the countryside immediately, completely forgetting about the dog. Serafina locked her phone and looked up at me, her tone unreadable. After that night, my Little White finally understood the cruelty of the human heart. He's been moping at home ever since, refusing to eat a thing. I was shaken. Damn it. Not only did I get dumped, but I had accidentally traumatized a dog to the point of depression. That's a heavy sin. I slammed my hand on the table and stood up. I'll treat him. I definitely have to. Let's go buy skewers right now. The best ones available. I need to apologize to Little White. Serafina didn't say a word. She simply pushed her WeChat QR code in front of me. Apparently, my credibility level in her eyes wasn't very high. I hurried to scan it. Her profile picture was a goofy, adorable golden retriever. I sighed, covering my face. Miss Serafina, don't worry. I will absolutely take responsibility. Serafina pursed her lips, her expression ambiguous. Let's go. I immediately got up to follow her. However, I had barely taken a step when the clicking of high heels echoed from above. Almost instinctively, I looked toward the second-floor staircase. Luna was standing there, her eyes calmly fixed on me. Behind her was a group of socialites, the very people who had never respected me during the 4 years I was with Luna. I intended to walk straight out, but at that moment, a man in a high-end black suit with an elegant aura descended the stairs. I knit my brows. I glanced at Silas behind the bar. He was frozen like a wooden statue. Jax was here too. Silas's expression shifted, and he frantically shook his head at me, mouthing, I didn't know. But Jax, upon seeing me, seemed to brighten up instantly, acting as if he had no idea Luna and I had a 4-year history. He approached with an incredibly friendly attitude. Caleb, you're here too? Long time no see. I curled my lips and nodded. Fair winds. Jax gestured toward the crowd behind him and spoke with a forced sense of helplessness. I just docked. Luna and her friends insisted on throwing me a homecoming party here. I wasn't planning on coming, but Luna wants to open a pirate hot pot restaurant right on this street, so I came along to scout the new location. As he finished speaking, he turned and naturally wrapped his arm around Luna's waist before looking at me. I recall you in the hot pot business too, right? We'll be colleagues from now on. Care to give me some professional advice? He's opening a hot pot restaurant? I suddenly looked up at Luna. Competition within the same industry is normal. If it were anyone else, I wouldn't care. But Jax? His family owns a cosmetics empire worth tens of billions. Why on earth would he open a pirate-themed hot pot joint? My family was once one of the wealthiest in Northside, but my parents died suddenly. Back then, I was just a naive kid who understood nothing. My family's assets were torn apart by shareholders, uncles, and aunts, leaving me with nothing but a crumbling chain of hot pot restaurants on the verge of bankruptcy. Luna saw with her own eyes how I had to grit my teeth and endure years of bitterness to revive this business. I don't believe for a second that she doesn't understand how Jax opening a restaurant on this specific street would impact me. Luna's gaze swept over me and Serafina. After a few seconds of silence, she spoke nonchalantly. Don't be so stingy. Helping Jax a little won't harm you. Huh? Won't harm me. How lovely. Jax threw away a woman he didn't want. And when he decided to come back, I was expected to just hand her back. Now he wants to seize my market share, and I'm supposed to happily offer him a consultation? Where does he get the nerve? Caleb, come help me out, Jax said, sounding 10 times more sincere. I looked up, a cold sneer forming on my lips as I prepared to refuse. He has plans. It's not convenient, Serafina, who had been silent by my side, suddenly spoke up. Her voice caused everyone to turn and stare at her in astonishment. She maintained her calm expression, a slight curve at the corner of her mouth as she gave Luna a faint smile. He has to come to my house. Then, she tilted her head and playfully stuck her tongue out at me. Didn't you say you were going to take responsibility for me? Let's go. Take responsibility for her. That choice of words was incredibly clever. I looked at Serafina gratefully and smiled. Let's go. Meeting someone for one day and already going home with them. Caleb, do you have no shame? Luna's cold voice rang out almost instantly. Everyone in the room froze at her words. I knit my brows, feeling a flicker of rage ignite in my chest. She was clinging to her current lover while trying to control the life of her ex. Do you even know the meaning of shame? Just focus on managing Jax's hot pot business and don't worry about where I go or what I do. By the way, allow me to correct you, Miss Luna. Surprisingly, Serafina, who had already reached the door, turned her head back and flashed a smile at Luna. She arched an eyebrow, her voice slow and deliberate. Caleb and I didn't just meet. There's a very deep destiny between us. Hearing this, Luna's expression instantly stiffened. Serafina turned back, grabbed my hand, and pulled me toward the door. In that moment of close contact, her fragrance enveloped me, making the side of my body she was leaning against feel almost numb. My mind went into a daze. Her words sounded a bit strange, but upon reflection, they weren't entirely wrong. I had caused Little White a great deal of emotional pain. A little dog moping on a balcony like a depressed old man is a heavy sight. Little White, I was wrong. I was truly wrong. I bought you premium skewers. Please eat. I knelt on one knee on the floor, holding a bowl full of food, and sincerely repented to the dog. Serafina sat on the sofa, quietly observing me. I felt like she was mocking me, but when I glanced her way, she wasn't laughing. By the time Little White finally let me hold him and agreed to play, it was pitch black outside. Suddenly, Serafina spoke up. I'm hungry. Do you know how to cook? I froze, then nodded. I do. Luna was a very picky eater. There were many things she couldn't stand. After we got together, I was the one who did all the cooking for her. Over 4 years, my culinary skills had become practically irreproachable. Serafina stood up, walked over to me, and sat on the rug to hug Little White. She gave me no room to refuse. If she wasn't bothered by it, why should I, a man, hesitate? I immediately rolled up my sleeves and stepped into the kitchen to show off my skills. I prepared 2 simple dishes. Just as I placed them on the dining table, the phone in my pocket vibrated violently, nearly causing me to drop a plate. I set the dish down and answered without even checking the caller ID. Hello. Your luggage is still at my place. Come and get it. Now. I went stiff, pulling the phone away from my ear to confirm the screen. It was Luna. Luna. She was telling me to come pick up my luggage at this hour of the night. It's too late. I'll send someone for it tomorrow. The other end of the line went dead silent, save for the sound of suppressed, heavy breathing. Then came Luna's icy voice. You must come. Right now. Confused, I took a deep breath. Then you could just throw it all away, Miss Luna. The only reason I had been stubborn about getting those bags back was because they contained many things my grandfather had bought for me. But if retrieving them meant continuing this entanglement with Luna, I'd rather let them go. The man is gone. Everything else is just dust. While my grandfather was alive, I fulfilled my duties with all my heart and had a clear conscience. These mementos, if I can keep them, fine. If not, so be it. I sighed, ready to hang up. But just then, Serafina let out a small cry. Ow, that hurts. I hurried over to support her arm. Did you kneel too long? Look, your knees are all red. Serafina looked at me with dissatisfaction, giving me a mock glare. Why don't you try kneeling that long and see if they turn red? I didn't know you'd be here forever, she complained softly. At that exact moment, a loud noise erupted both from the phone and from the front door. Caught between shock and bewilderment, I heard Luna's voice, cold as a blade and dripping with venom through clenched teeth. Caleb, come out yourself, or I'm breaking down this door to drag you out. My eyes widened in pure astonishment. Luna was actually standing right outside the door. The call hadn't disconnected yet. Her voice through the speaker was as cold as ice. 3, 2. My fists clenched. I took a sharp breath, suppressing my rising anger. I had to go out. With Luna's princess temperament, she was entirely capable of actually breaking down the door. But it wasn't me who opened it. It was Serafina. She stood firmly in front of me, coldly meeting Luna's furious gaze. Is there something you need, Miss Luna? Luna's face was dark with rage, her hands balled into fists. She ignored Serafina entirely. Her beautiful eyes, burning with deep-seated anger, locked onto mine. You had 5 hours to spend here, but you didn't have time to get your things? I was speechless. Does she not have it tomorrow? Could she really not wait just one night? Jax is staying over at my place tonight. Luna's statement made me flinch for a split second. But to her surprise, I didn't show any anger. She just stared at me, her voice turning dull. I'm afraid he'll be uncomfortable if he sees your things. I'm also afraid you'll use the missing luggage excuse later to cling to me, dragging this out forever. The wound in my heart was torn open once again, bleeding silently in the dark. I unconsciously gripped the car door handle and let out a cold, thin smile. Fine, I'll come get them right now. This was the first time I'd ever sat in Luna's car, yet I didn't want to exchange a single word with her. I leaned my head against the seat and closed my eyes to rest. Are you in her now? Luna suddenly broke the silence. I knit my brows and opened my eyes, meeting her clear gaze through the rearview mirror. After a 3-second pause, I nodded. She's quite wonderful. Ah, Luna let out a dry laugh, her eyes returning to the road ahead. Wonderful. It seems you've truly been living well these past 10 days. She paused for a moment before continuing. At first, I thought you would. I frowned. Would what? Luna just smiled faintly and kept her eyes on the path, saying no more. All my belongings had already been packed by Silas. 2 large suitcases sat right next to the dining table in the living room. Luna sat down, picked up a glass of water, and took a shallow sip, her eyes fixed on me. She said nothing, and I didn't plan on wasting words. Every second I spent in this familiar yet foreign place made my heart ache more. I reached out to grab the handles of my suitcases and turned to leave. But my wrist was suddenly caught in a powerful grip. Caleb. Luna looked up into my eyes, her gaze still as haughty and superior as ever. Weren't you the one who loved me to death before? It's only been 10 days and you've already let go. You can already stay by another woman's side so calmly. Do you even believe that yourself? In that moment, a fire of rage erupted in my chest. Compared to the day she gave me the breakup fee, this moment was 100 times more humiliating. How I had treated her over the last 4 years, did she not know? Just because I loved her, did I deserve to be insulted like this? I violently shoved her hand away, my eyes turning ice cold. Whether I've let go or not, does it matter? What matters is that I fulfilled my duty as an ex, staying away and not causing trouble. But Miss Luna, what kind of game are you playing today? It's the first time I've heard of a high society lady offering after-sale service to her former lovers. Or did you suddenly realize you can't bear to let me go? Luna continued to stare at me, her eyes reflecting an emotion I had never seen before. 3 seconds later, she spoke. What if I said that's exactly it? My entire body went stiff. In that moment, I actually doubted my own hearing. Did Luna really just say that? She rose from her chair and suddenly wrapped her arms around my waist. She pressed her cheek against my chest and let out a long sigh. Caleb, if this was your strategy, then congratulations. You won. Come back to me. Having said that, she tilted her head up and softly kissed my lips. Haven't you missed me these past few days? Because I've missed you a little. Her body was soft, and her misty eyes looked at me with an enchanting, seductive gaze. The air was thick with tension and ambiguity. But I no longer had the heart to care about that. Only one thought echoed in my mind. Wait, what about Jax? Jax, who was very much a part of her life now, was still in the picture. I looked around, suddenly feeling like the whole world had gone mad. Luna narrowed her eyes, her voice firm and decisive. I'll find another place to set him up. He won't know. I want both of you. A string in my head snapped. Unable to restrain myself, I pushed her away with force. I almost couldn't stop myself from striking a woman. Where do you get the confidence to think I'd be content being your little side piece? Luna, did you ever even view me as a human being? Just how much had I loved her for her to think I would accept something so degrading? Caleb, Luna stood still, watching me, her voice carrying a cold, mocking edge. There's a limit to playing hard to get. I'm the one lowering my head here. You only get one chance. If you walk out that door today, don't ever expect to come back. I turned my head, staring straight into Luna's dark, brooding face, and let out a cold laugh. Cling tight to your precious Jax and live your life. If we ever meet again in this lifetime, let it be at the crematorium. Since that day, I hadn't seen Luna again. She was, after all, a proud heiress. The fact that she didn't seek revenge after such a blunt rejection was already a blessing. How could she ever deign to come looking for me again? But even if Luna didn't appear, Jax managed to pull off a grand opening for his hot pot restaurant. The location was strategically chosen, just 1 block away from mine. To make a name for himself and steal the crowd, he launched a massive promotion, 70% off for an entire month. The entire street of hot pot businesses was being squeezed to the point of collapse. I was still holding on. After all, I had $4 million in my pocket. I could afford to burn some cash to play his game without suffering any devastating losses yet. But even so, he had already siphoned off 30% of my customers. I was frustrated, but there was nothing I could do. His family had wealth and power. They could burn money like it was nothing. How long could my $4 million actually last against that? Sitting on the curb in front of my shop, I rubbed Little White's head. Looking into his big, round eyes, I let out a long sigh. I gently lifted his paw and pointed it at the revenue report in my hand. Come on, Little White, analyze this for the boss. Besides price and flavor, is there any other way to pull people back in? Woof, woof. Little White suddenly barked twice, as if agitated by something. I blinked and looked up in the direction he was barking. A tall, slender figure was slowly approaching. Serafina was wearing a beige dress and high heels, her every step graceful. With her perfect silhouette and breathtakingly beautiful face, she looked like a stunning masterpiece amidst the crowded street. Early shift today, Dr. Serafina? I greeted her instinctively. Since our blind date, we had grown closer because of Little White. Her job as a doctor didn't have fixed hours, so she decided to leave Little White in my care. Since pets aren't allowed inside the hot pot restaurant, I set up a small umbrella outside for him to lounge under as our lucky mascot. Not many surgeries today, Serafina smiled, pulling a lollipop from her bag and handing it to me. Eat something sweet to brighten your mood. I shook my head. Nah, guys aren't really into candy. Serafina knit her brows slightly, looked down to peel the wrapper, and brought the candy directly to my lips. If I say eat, you eat. Open up. I froze instantly, feeling incredibly awkward. Just as I reached out to take it, the leash in my hand was jerked violently. I lost my balance, and before I could react, I lunged forward. Fortunately, Serafina had quick reflexes. She immediately crouched down to catch me. Thanks to her, I didn't face-plant onto the pavement, but I ended up squarely in her arms. Thump, 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 thump. Serafina's soft body was pressed against mine. My heart rate skyrocketed, and my face flushed crimson. I hurriedly let go and stood up, laughing awkwardly. Whoa, thanks for the save, Dr. Serafina. Otherwise, this handsome face of mine would have been history. Serafina stood up with me, a peculiar look in her eyes. She suddenly leaned close to my ear and whispered, Mr. Caleb, your heart was beating really fast just now. Are you falling for me? Now that I've saved your life, shouldn't you repay me with your heart? Her breath brushed against my ear, carrying her gentle fragrance. My mind went into a tailspin, and my eyes widened involuntarily. Wait, is this what I think it is? Does Serafina like me? Is she actually pursuing me? Woof, woof, woof. Little White's barking timely rescued me from the awkwardness. I turned to see him blocking the path of a customer who had just left my restaurant. Hey, don't block the way. I rushed over, tightening the leash. Little White, they already paid. Once they pay, they're free to go. No need to block them. Little White growled low in his throat, staring at the customer for a few seconds before begrudgingly moving aside to let them pass. I quickly bowed and apologized to the guest, politely seeing them off. When I looked up, I saw Jax walking toward us from across the street. His expression was grim, looking like he had just come out of a heated argument. It was strange for a guy with a perfect love life and a booming career. How could he look so miserable? But then again, his problems were none of my business. I knelt down and rubbed Little White's head, exhaling in relief. Thanks for the save, buddy. If it wasn't for you, I wouldn't have known how to answer Serafina. What I didn't expect was that later that night, me, Serafina, and Little White would all trend on social media. It turned out a famous blogger with millions of fans who specializes in food vlogs had been live streaming at my restaurant. Seeing me sitting on the curb, analyzing revenue reports with Little White, he found it hilarious and panned the camera toward us. Not only that, the intimate moment between me and Serafina, plus Little White's debt collection act, were all broadcast live. A string of related keywords climbed the hot search rankings. By the time my phone started ringing off the hook, it was already past 2 a.m. I was buried deep in sleep, groggily hearing the constant ringing. I fumbled for my phone and picked up. Hello. The other end was silent. I waited a few seconds, my brow furrowing as I grew impatient. Hello. Talk to me. Who is this? If you don't speak, I'm hanging up. Caleb. Luna's icy voice bled through the speaker. Who gave you the guts to actually get involved with her? Do you have a death wish? I hung up without a second thought, rolled over, and went back to sleep. Right before drifting off, I mumbled to myself, crazy women are truly terrifying. The explosion of that live stream was far beyond my expectations. Netizens flocked to my restaurant, turning it into a famous check-in spot. Every day, a long line snaked out the door. Within just a few days, the customers Jax had stolen not only returned, but my patronage increased tenfold, all thanks to Serafina and Little White. Today, as the shop was about to close, Jax suddenly appeared. He offered a plastic smile. Congratulations, Caleb. Your place is really blowing up. I looked up and gave a faint, tight smile, skipping the pleasantries. What are you doing here? We're closed. I wanted him gone immediately and had no intention of offering him a seat. The smile on Jax's face slowly withered. He finally dropped the act of friendly colleague and revealed his true arrogant, cold colors. Caleb, name your price. I paused. You want to buy my restaurant? Not just the restaurant. Jax's eyes darkened as he stared me down. I want you to vanish from this city entirely. I glanced at the waitress cleaning the table nearby and waved for her to head home early. Then, I turned back to Jax with a pale smile. Oh, how much are you offering? And you're talking nonsense. This city is huge. As long as you people stop looking for me, I doubt we'd ever cross paths again in this lifetime. Jax let out a cold, haughty laugh full of contempt. Caleb, don't think that just because you managed to cling to Serafina and your pathetic little hot pot shop went viral, you can actually set foot in high society. Do you have any idea what kind of background the Everly family has? Even if you wanted to be a freeloading leech, they would never accept a mere hot pot shop owner like you. So, here's a piece of advice. Don't be foolish. Take the money and vanish while this shop of yours is still worth something, and while I'm still feeling generous enough not to ruin you. His words were harsh, but I couldn't deny that his logic was sharper than I expected. In truth, my restaurant made a decent profit. I wasn't hurting for cash. But compared to the elite titans of the capital, I was indeed a nobody. In terms of status, I truly was no match for Serafina. But what I understood even less was, wait, Jax, I truly don't get it. When I was with Luna, you two weren't even a couple. You were the one who chose to abandon her. After you came back, I left immediately. I didn't fight you, I didn't steal anything, and I never crossed you. So why on earth are you targeting me? As soon as I finished, Jax's face flashed with anger before he let out a cold laugh. Luna is blinded by her emotions, but I'm not. It's obvious she still has feelings for you. If I don't act now, am I supposed to just wait for you to make a comeback and replace me? Jax spoke with bitter resentment, and despite his arrogant facade, I could tell he wasn't happy. Ever since I returned, she hasn't let me touch her. She spends all day staring at her phone in a daze. A few days ago, when I tried to kiss her, she instinctively pushed me away and said, "Jax, don't start trouble." He grilled his teeth, looking at me with enough hate to swallow me alive. Who do you think you are? You think you're worthy of competing with me? Even if I decide I don't want her anymore, you still wouldn't have a right to pick up my scraps. And I have no idea what's wrong with Serafina, being stupid enough to like a piece of trash like you. Don't you find your own mouth disgusting? Serafina's voice rang out from the entrance. Both Jax and I froze as she marched over and stood firmly in front of me. At least Caleb lives with integrity. He dares to love and dares to walk away. Not like some people whose skin is as thick as a fortress wall. You're the one who said you didn't want her, yet you had the nerve to crawl back and try to reclaim her. She stepped closer to him. You claimed you were heading to the high seas to follow some pirate king dream. In reality, you just couldn't cut it out there and got kicked back home, didn't you? I couldn't see Serafina's face from behind, but Jax's face turned ghostly white. While I was still reeling from the sheer lethality of her words, Serafina suddenly tilted her head to look at me, flashing a playful smile. Don't worry, Caleb. My family doesn't have such foul mouths. When my family chooses a son-in-law, we look at character and chemistry. She paused for a moment and pointed toward Little White, who was lounging by the door. My dog feels the same way. It sounded like she was throwing a final jab at him. By the time we closed the shop, it was late. The residential area was unusually quiet, with yellow leaves falling silently onto the pavement. Serafina and I walked side by side, leading Little White back home. I'm sorry, Dr. Serafina, for constantly having to borrow Little White for my business. It's fine, she said, looking at the dog and letting out a laugh. Little White is all grown up now. It's about time he started working to help support the family. I laughed along with her, but after hesitating for a few seconds, I decided to speak up. And about those rumors online about the two of us, I'm really sorry. Being talked about like that must be affecting your reputation as a woman. Serafina stopped in her tracks. Her eyes sparkled under the glow of the streetlights. She stepped closer, wrapping her arms around my neck, her crimson lips mere inches away. It's fun, actually. Why apologize? I expected a different reaction from you. She leaned in further. Mr. Caleb, I'm this beautiful. Are you really telling me you haven't felt a single spark? Not even a little moved? Here we go again. I knew for a fact that I wasn't in love with Serafina yet, but this woman was the creme de la creme, handpicked by the elders. Her own qualities were already extraordinary. When a woman as stunning as a goddess proactively teases you like this, who could possibly resist? I was so tense my toes curled inside my shoes. I scrambled to escape her embrace, pointing frantically at the apartment entrance behind me. I'm home. Good night. With that, I spun around and bolted into the building like my life depended on it. Serafina's clear, melodic laughter echoed behind me. Caleb, you are absolutely adorable. Even as I stepped into the elevator, my face was still burning. I took a deep breath, scolding myself. Caleb, how old are you? Have you never seen a woman or been in love before? It's just a bit of flirting. What are you so nervous for? I patted my cheeks, lifted my chin, and prepared to walk to my door. It seems you've been living quite happily lately, haven't you? Luna stood there, watching me with a freezing gaze. She walked toward me step by step, the click of her high heels echoing through the silent hallway. Instinctively, I took a step back. For some reason, this version of Luna actually terrified me. But my retreat seemed to provoke her. She suddenly took a large stride and threw herself into my arms. Caleb, hold me. Kiss me. I've missed you so much. Before I could even react, she pressed her red lips forcefully against mine. The faint scent of alcohol lingered on her breath, our breathing intertwining in the dark. My heart sank, and I immediately shoved her away. Luna, what are you doing? Luna stumbled back a few steps, leaning against the wall. Her eyes were glazed with a daze of intoxication and a deep, raw sense of hurt. Are you really with her now? I knit my brows, but before I could speak, she cut me off sharply. Break up with her. Come back to me. Let's start over. Her shoulders trembled slightly, as if she were surrendering to something she could no longer fight. Her voice softened. Caleb, you've won. You've truly won. I can't stand seeing you with someone else. She took a shaky breath. That day when you left with your suitcases, I thought, Fine, let him go, I don't care. But for over a month, my head has been filled with nothing but images of you. No matter what I do, it feels wrong. Something is always missing. Just thinking about you and Serafina together makes me want to tie you up and drag you back to my side. If she had said these words on any day during the past 4 years, I would have been moved to tears and given her my entire soul. A version of Luna this sincere and pained. If it had been just 1 month earlier, she wouldn't have even had to beg. I would have poured out my heart for her. But it was late. Far too late. I shook my head slowly, taking the opportunity to distance myself and heading toward my door. I'm sorry, but what does any of that have to do with me? Go back and live your life with Jax. Stop thinking about things that are never going to happen. The beep of my fingerprint lock rang out. I gently pushed the door open, but a frantic voice called out from behind me. I broke up with him. Is that enough for you? I stared at the wall in disbelief. Is that enough? She made it sound like I was the one forcing her hand. If I actually had the power to force her to do anything, I wouldn't have been humiliated so badly in the past. Luna took a few steps forward, but stopped short of reaching me. Perhaps because of the alcohol, her voice held a rare note of panic and helplessness. Lately, I've been trying to convince myself that the person I love has always been Jax, that I should love him. But it's not right. None of it feels right. I couldn't even stand it when he touched me. I stepped inside my apartment, my mood perfectly calm. Luna, it doesn't matter anymore. Who you love is none of my business. I truly don't care. I paused at the threshold. Just don't love me. That's all I ask. Then tell me. Luna's voice became urgent and frustrated, like a child who couldn't get the candy they wanted. What do I have to do to make you come back? I gripped the door handle tight, not looking back. Go call the police then. I never expected that Luna actually wouldn't call the police. But I was the one who actually called the police because something went wrong at my restaurant. More than 10 customers suffered food poisoning after eating there and had to be hospitalized. An anonymous tip followed, claiming my ingredients were seriously tainted. At the same time, the story of me being a stand-in for Luna was twisted and leaked online. A long-winded post surfaced, every word accusing me of being shameless, claiming I had snatched Luna away while Jax was out at sea chasing his dreams. The online community that once supported me and Serafina exploded overnight. They were disappointed. They were furious. The internet was flooded with insults directed at me. But amidst the barrage of bad news, there was one silver lining. I was also a victim of food poisoning. After all, I lived alone. 3 meals a day came from my own kitchen. Netizens who initially planned to brand me a heartless businessman went quiet when they realized I was also sick. Fine, maybe it really was an accident. We'll give the restaurant the benefit of the doubt, but his character is still questionable. Wait, the shipper fan screamed in the comments. Caleb was poisoned. Was he sent to Dr. Serafina's hospital? Yes, and as luck would have it, the person treating me was indeed Serafina. Dressed in her white lab coat, Serafina stood by my hospital bed, her hand adjusting the foredrip. Her face was expressionless. She was usually so gentle. Seeing her this stern made me incredibly uneasy. I tucked myself deeper into the blanket and whispered, "Dr. Serafina, am I in bad shape?" "Not that bad," she replied flatly. "A few days of rest will do." "Then why are you looking so serious?" Serafina gathered my medical charts. Just as she was about to answer, her eyes flared with a cold anger. Because someone is about to meet their end. She turned to walk out, tossing a final instruction over her shoulder. "No sweets for the next 2 days." The subject change was so abrupt, I just sat there dazed. The handsome police officer sitting by my bed taking notes suddenly clicked his tongue and shook his head in pity. I looked at him confused. Why that face? He pursed his lips. Because the person who targeted you, even if they turn into ashes, Serafina will dig them up and interrogate them until they break. Honestly, what an idiot. You can provoke anyone, but don't provoke Serafina. Just because she didn't want to inherit the family empire doesn't mean she wasn't raised by the Everleys. In that house, even the dog is as smart as a demon. None of them are kind people. I suddenly felt the fluid in my veins turn ice cold. No, it wouldn't go that far, right? But reality proved it went exactly that far. Someone initially stepped forward to take the fall for the food poisoning at my restaurant. But the police didn't buy it. They dug deeper, investigating every lead until they finally dragged Jax out into the light. Why? Because on the night Luna got drunk and came to me, begging for a second chance only to be rejected, she went home and kept muttering my name in her sleep. She wanted me back. She wanted to break up with Jax. Hearing that, Jax was driven mad with rage. He concocted this scheme just to drive me out of his sight once and for all. But now, with the police issuing the official investigation report, his reputation from the Great Route to the capital is utterly trashed. Simultaneously, the truth about me and Luna was fully exposed by netizens. Wait, so Jax never even accepted Luna's confession back then? Then how the hell can he claim his lover was stolen? He didn't want her. Someone else cherished her like a treasure for 4 years. And now he has the nerve to demand her back. My God, Caleb is such a tragic figure. He worked so hard to woo her, only to be tossed aside the moment the other guy blinked. Is Luna blind? Guys, I work for a wedding planning company. I can prove this. On the day Jax returned, Caleb had already decorated the villa and was preparing to propose to Luna. Once that comment was posted, the internet went nuclear. Everyone started tagging Luna to mock her. How could you miss a proposal prepared with such care? How much did you lose when you gave up a man who loved you that much? I just want to ask Luna, are you regretting it yet? And what shocked everyone even more was that Luna actually replied. She said, yes, I regret it deeply. I'm preparing to make amends by chasing him back. When Serafina read that top comment, I was sitting on my hospital bed munching on an apple. She suddenly tilted her head and stared at me, making me feel itchy. What's wrong? Am I not allowed to eat apples either? Serafina shook her head, but her expression remained dark and her voice cold. You can eat. Oh, I replied, half doubting her, but I took another small bite anyway. If, Serafina spoke suddenly, making me jump and nearly choke. I coughed, rubbing my throat, completely confused. If what? Nothing. She shook her head, her tone indifferent, but her eyes were deep and intense. I was just thinking that if you were stupid enough to go back to her, I'd let the dog bite you to death. After saying that, she calmly pushed her glasses up the bridge of her nose. She looked as composed as if she were talking about the weather, but I understood the warning. Because that very night, Luna showed up in my hospital room. She was dressed beautifully, her eyes shining with determination. Caleb, I know everything now. I blinked, totally lost. What? Know what? Before I could react, Luna pulled a small red velvet box from her pocket. Don't open that, I blurted out instinctively. Luna's slender fingers froze in midair. She looked up at me, her clear eyes beginning to brim with tears. Why? I know now that you were going to propose to me that day. Caleb, we were supposed to be married by now. I'm saying yes today. You used to love me so much. You treated me so well. You haven't truly given up on me, have you? Her voice was thick with desperate hope. Caleb, I regret it. It was my fault. I've broken up with Jax, and I won't hesitate ever again. Come back to me. Let's start over. No. I shook my head, silently taking the box from her hand. I flipped it over and over as if playing with a walnut. You're right about one thing. I really did intend to propose to you that day. But, Luna, you missed your chance. Her eyes dimmed, but she shook her head stubbornly. No, you love me. How could you give up on me so easily? We haven't missed it yet. As long as you come back, we can still start over, right? Our eyes met. The obsession and sincerity in Luna's gaze were undeniable. At that moment, I had an unmistakable realization. This time, she really wouldn't let me go. I even had a premonition that if I refused, she might never leave me in peace. Just as I was about to speak, I caught a glimpse of a woman and a dog passing by the hospital room door. I let out a smile and nodded. Fine, I'll give you a chance. Under Luna's overjoyed gaze, I swung my arm and hurled the diamond ring box out the window. If you can find this ring again, I'll go back to you. On the day I was discharged, Serafina arrived with Little White. I stood by the hospital window, quietly looking down at the garden where Luna was rummaging through the bushes. After days of searching, she had finally found the box, but the ring inside was nowhere to be found. It was either lost in the grass or picked up by passerby. Serafina, having stood beside me at some unknown point, spoke with a dark expression and a hint of bitterness. If she finds it, are you really going to go back to her? At her left heel, Little White sat majestically, looking like he'd pounce and bite me the second I said yes. I couldn't help but burst into laughter. Of course. Serafina's face instantly darkened. I smirked mischievously and pulled a ring from my pocket. But first, she actually has to find it. If Luna refused to let go, then I could only use my own methods to settle the score. She deserved to taste the feeling I once had, giving everything I had, thinking I was finally reaching the light, only to be met with profound despair. I once offered her my absolute sincerity with both hands, yet she didn't cherish it. She discarded it and even trampled on it. Why should I forgive her just because she suddenly realized her mistake? Serafina let out a soft huff and shook her head, but the corners of her mouth curved up involuntarily. Mr. Caleb, your heart is quite wicked, isn't it? Truly terrible. She paused, her eyes searching mine. But I like it. So tell me, can you give me an answer now? Regarding our blind date, do you want to develop this into a deeper relationship? I knit my brows, deep in thought, but I was in no rush to answer. Instead, I sat down, rubbed Little White's head, and laughed. Well, Little White, what do you think? Woof, woof, woof.